Hey there, Spark fans, Rob Reynolds here once again. Moore's Law. We know it, we love it, we're even willing to relax its definition to encompass more than just ICs. Of course, we know that it is not infinitely sustainable. However, that doesn't mean that we can't, at least for now, continue to put smaller chips on smaller boards. And that's what we're doing here with one of our favorites, one of my personal favorites, the ESP32. Smaller than the IoT Red board, smaller than the ESP32 Thing Plus, you are looking at the new SparkFun ESP32 Qwiic Pro Mini. This little board uses Espressif's new ESP32 Pico V302 embedded extensive dual-core 32-bit microprocessor running at speeds of up to 240 MHz. And memory? You're looking at 448K ROM for booting and core functions, 520K SRAM for data and instructions, 16K SRAM and RTC, 8 MB SPI flash, and 2 MB PSRAM. Wireless capabilities? Well, for Wi-Fi, it hosts 802.11 BGN with a bitrate in 802.11n up to 150 megabits per second, AM-PDU and AM-SDU aggregation, 0.4 microsecond guard interval support, with a center frequency range of operation channel between 2412 and 2484 MHz. If you want to use Bluetooth, this meets the Bluetooth V4.2 BR EDR and Bluetooth LE specification with a Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 transmitter, AFH, plus CVSD and SBC. Its peripheral list includes UART, SPI, SDIO, I2C, LED PWM, motor PWM, I2S, IR, pulse counter, GPIO, capacitive touch sensor, ADC, DAC, TWAI, compatible with ISO 11898-1 or CAN-SPEC 2.0, and Ethernet MAC. The module has an integrated 40 MHz crystal oscillator, and the ESP32 Pico Mini 02 has an onboard PCB antenna. Its operating voltage or power supply ranges from 3.0 to about 3.6 volts DC, with an operating ambient temperature range from -40 to about 85 degrees Celsius. And the board has a single vertical quick connector and about 4 handfuls of pins broken out to give you as many configuration options as possible on this tiny board. Okay, so that is a ton of information crammed onto this tiny board. A lot of acronyms, a lot of stuff you might not be familiar with, a lot of stuff you've never heard me say before, and that's okay. Talking about the module's Bluetooth capabilities, you heard me mention AFH. What is AFH? Well, it's adaptive frequency hopping, and what that means is if you've got two of these modules communicating, they are constantly monitoring their environment for interference and changing the channel map to adjust for that interference. Pretty cool, huh? That's in there. There's a ton of other stuff, and if you actually go to the product page and look at the features list, it's all there. Feel free to dive in, read about it, do a deep dive, go down the rabbit hole. It's really cool stuff. One of the features I do want to point out is the PSRAM. 2 megabytes of PSRAM on this board. Now you may be asking yourself, what is PSRAM? Well, that is pseudo-static RAM. It's a dynamic RAM with built-in refresh and address control circuitry, which makes it behave more like static RAM. Basically what it does is it combines the high density of DRAM with the ease of use of SRAM. Now, are you going to need this all the time or build this in every project? No. The way I look at it, it's like the springform pans in my kitchen. I don't use them all the time. I don't even use them a lot. But man, when I need them, nothing else will do. They are make or break. And that's what this is going to be for some of your projects. A couple other things you might be thinking when you look at this little gem. Where's the USB port for me to program or even power it? And speaking of power, where's the 2-pin JST connector so I can run it from a LiPo battery? Well, it's not. In order to program this board, you're going to need to get a USB to serial adapter, something like our SparkFun Serial Basic Breakout, the CH340C, and that means you're going to have to solder some headers to this board. And since we're talking about programming it, there's another step that this module requires that most ESP32s don't. In order to program this, you're going to have to hit the GP0 button while you reset. Not a big deal, but it's one extra step that you might not be used to and should be aware of. Now, if you want to power this board via, well, anything, you're going to need to solder to it. Whether you're soldering on a 2-pin JST connector for a LiPo battery, hardwiring power directly to it, it needs to be soldered to in order to do anything at all. Now, you might be asking yourself, or asking me, Rob, why are you making us do this? Well, I'll tell you. This board isn't designed to be your go-to rapid prototyping ESP32 board. This is designed more to be the board that you drop into your final ESP32 project once you've prototyped it on something like the ESP32 Thing Plus C. Of course, this module does have some capabilities that other ESP32s lack. So at some point during your prototyping journey, you may have to switch over to this, and if that's the case, you solder in a couple of rows of headers, drop it into your breadboard, Bob's your uncle. So that is a lot of information and a lot of capability and a very little board. But with its low power draw and high functionality, this might be exactly the board you need for projects like intelligent speakers, speech recognition toys, wearables, home automation, and a host of other ideas I'm sure are swirling around in your heads right now as you look at this little beauty. So head on over to our website and pick up your own SparkFun ESP32 Qwiic Pro Mini and let us know what you're going to do with it. Because as I've said before, for the 1,000 ideas that we have come up with for this, we know you have 1,000,000 and we want to hear about them. Until next time, this is Rob Reynolds saying stay safe, be kind, and happy hacking. USB to serial, what's it called? USB to serial adapter. Smaller than the ESP32 Qwiic, no, wait. Can't imagine why, since we have 27 ESP32 products out, is the 2 megabytes of SSSSSS, which makes it behave more like static RAM. Now it combines P32 Thing Mini Pro Micro Plus minus.